Once again, NATO is necessary to our security and that of the free world. Hello, I'm Steve Forbes, and this is What's Ahead, where you get the insights you need to better navigate these turbulent times. Here's why we need NATO today as much as we did when it was created in 1949 to contain the Soviet Union at the dawn of the Cold War. NATO's premise was simple. An attack on one member would be considered an attack on all. Moscow could forget about trying to divide the U.S. from Europe. After all, American isolationism had been a potent force between the world wars, or playing one Western European country against the other. At the time, the Communist Party was particularly powerful in France and Italy. The alliance's purpose was pungently put by its first Secretary General, quote, "Keep the Russians out, the Americans in, and the Germans down," end quote. NATO worked. Kremlin efforts to break up or weaken the alliance failed. Moscow lost the 40-year Cold War. While the Soviet Empire shattered in 1991, the need for NATO didn't disappear. Formerly communist countries in Central and Eastern Europe, and some of the new nations emerging from the rubble of the Kremlin's empire, had no illusions that their future freedom was ensured. They knew powerful forces in Russia wanted to put the old empire back together and return countries like Poland to the subservient status of vassal states of the Kremlin that they were during the Cold War. That's why these newly independent states wanted membership in NATO. So did several countries that came into existence after the breakup of the communist country of Yugoslavia. Their fears about an aggressive Russia were not unfounded. Vladimir Putin wants Russia to dominate Europe and either absorb the pieces of the Soviet Empire or dominate them so that they're independent in name only. Key to this vaulting imperial ambition is destroying Ukraine. Lithuania, Latvia, and Estonia are well aware of Putin's desire to reabsorb them as part of the Russian Empire, as Stalin did back in 1939. Putin's threat is why both Finland and Sweden abandoned long-standing policies of neutrality and joined NATO. Something was inconceivable before the Ukraine war. We fought 2 world wars to keep Europe free from Imperial Germany and then the Nazis. We fought a 40-year Cold War to keep Europe from domination by Russia. We did so because the continent's security was key to our security. We ultimately did it for us, not as a charitable gesture for them. What happens internationally can impact us economically. It can threaten our way of life. The Great Depression, when trade was destroyed and hostile forces were ignored, demonstrates that. We in the world would not have enjoyed the vast, extraordinary expansion in living standards since 1945 without the military security provided by NATO. Certain members of NATO have not yet sufficiently boosted military outlays, but this does not justify busting up the alliance and letting dictator Putin dominate Europe. Abandoning NATO would also be immense gifts for China and Iran, who would tell the world that it cannot trust the U.S. anymore, so they'd better learn to kowtow to China and to Iran. I'm Steve Forbes. Thanks for listening. Do send in your comments and suggestions, and look forward to being with you soon again.